The first time I saw her cry, it wasn't in a boardroom or during a crisis meeting. It was reflected faintly in the glass wall of her corner office, late at night, when the entire city outside was glowing and she believed she was completely alone. In that moment, the woman everyone called untouchable, intimidating, and far too old for love looked fragile, exhausted, and painfully human. I didn't know it then, but that silent reflection would change the course of my life. Before the story pulls you deeper, pause for a moment. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in love showing up where society says it shouldn't, please like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that need them. She was the CEO of the company that had just hired me, a global firm where power was measured in calm confidence and age was respected only if it stayed invisible. She was older than everyone else in the executive wing, especially older than me, and the whispers followed her wherever she went. Too old to relate. Too old to inspire. Too old to still believe in love. People never said it directly, but you could feel it in the way meetings quieted when she entered, or how younger executives avoided eye contact, as if age itself were contagious. To me, she was simply impressive, sharp-minded, composed, and terrifying in a way that made you want to do better. I was young, ambitious, and still trying to prove that I deserved my place. I worked late, volunteered for impossible deadlines, and carried the constant fear of being replaceable. She noticed that. Not with praise, but with expectation. Files landed on my desk that others were afraid to touch. Responsibilities grew heavier. I told myself it was professional respect, nothing more. Still, there was something about the way she observed people, quietly and thoroughly, as if she saw not just what they were but what they were carrying inside. As weeks turned into months, I began to see the weight she carried. The board challenged her relentlessly, questioning her relevance in a world obsessed with youth and innovation. Every success was followed by doubt, every mistake magnified. She never raised her voice. She never defended herself emotionally. She simply worked harder, arrived earlier, and stayed later than anyone else. Strength became her armor, but loneliness seeped through the cracks. Late nights became routine for both of us. The building would empty, lights shutting off floor by floor, until only a handful of offices remained lit like islands in the dark. That was when the atmosphere changed. The corporate noise faded, replaced by a softer, heavier silence. I began to notice the small things, her tired posture when she thought no one was watching, the way she paused before leaving as if she didn't want to go home, the sigh she released when she finally sat down alone. That night, when I saw her reflection in the glass, tears tracing silent paths down her face, I understood something important. She wasn't crying because she was weak. She was crying because she had been strong for far too long without anyone to lean on. And in that moment, something inside me shifted. Admiration turned into concern. Concern slowly transformed into something deeper, something dangerous. I fought it. I told myself it was gratitude, respect, misplaced empathy. Society had already written her story for her. An accomplished woman past her prime, powerful but alone, admired but not desired. Falling for her would be foolish, embarrassing, even cruel. I was supposed to look forward, not sideways. Yet the more I resisted, the more drawn I became to her resilience, her quiet grace, and the sadness she never allowed to surface. She never crossed a line. Neither did I. Everything that grew between us lived in pauses, glances, and shared exhaustion. A coffee placed on my desk without a word. A subtle nod after a presentation. A rare, almost shy smile when something went right. Those moments felt more intimate than any confession could have been. Then the pressure intensified. The board began discussing succession, disguising it as future planning while clearly pointing at her age. Rumors spread quickly. Employees whispered about her being forced out, about fresh blood and modern leadership. I watched her absorb every blow with the same calm dignity, but the cracks were becoming visible. Her shoulders slumped more often. The light in her eyes dimmed. One evening, she announced a major restructuring proposal that could save the company but would cost her politically. I knew how risky it was. I also knew how deeply she believed in it. When the board rejected it harshly, citing outdated thinking, something broke. Not publicly, not dramatically. It broke quietly, inside her. That night, she didn't stay late. She left early, something she almost never did. The next morning, her assistant told me she had taken a personal day. The office buzzed with speculation. I felt a knot of worry I couldn't explain. For the first time, I realized how much her presence anchored me. When she returned, she was different. Still composed, still professional, but distant in a way that felt final. I sensed she was preparing herself for an ending she hadn't chosen. That scared me more than anything else. I wanted to say something, to reassure her, to let her know she wasn't invisible to everyone. But fear held me back. Fear of judgment, fear of consequences, fear of acknowledging what my heart already knew. The turning point came during a company event celebrating decades of leadership. She was honored on stage, praised for her achievements, her resilience, her contributions. Applause filled the room, polite and respectful. Yet I could see the emptiness in her smile. Recognition without connection. Admiration without love. In that moment, the idea that she was too old for love felt cruel beyond measure. After the event, I watched her stand alone while others laughed and networked. That familiar loneliness surrounded her like a shadow. And I understood something clearly then. Love doesn't follow rules made by fear or convenience. It doesn't care about age or expectations. It arrives when it arrives, and denying it doesn't make it disappear. I didn't make a grand gesture. I didn't confess feelings or cross boundaries. Instead, I stayed. I supported her work openly. I defended her ideas when others hesitated. I spoke up when ageist comments surfaced. Slowly, subtly, things began to change. People noticed. Confidence shifted. The board reconsidered. Her proposal was revisited, this time with genuine discussion. She noticed too. One afternoon, as sunlight filled her office, she looked at me with an expression I had never seen before, gratitude mixed with surprise. For the first time, she allowed herself to be seen, not as a CEO, not as a symbol, but as a woman who had been quietly fighting for relevance, dignity, and connection. The transformation wasn't dramatic. It was gradual and deeply human. She started leaving on time. She smiled more often. The tension in her posture softened. The company stabilized, then thrived. And in the process, so did she. I never needed to define what I felt with labels. What mattered was that she was no longer alone in a world that had tried to sideline her. And I, in loving her quietly and respectfully, discovered a strength and purpose I had never known. Just before the ending, I want to ask you something important. Please comment below, and tell us whether you believe love has an expiration date, or if you believe, like I do now, that it arrives exactly when we are ready to recognize it. In the end, I realized the question was never why I fell for her. The real question was why society insists on convincing us that love belongs only to the young. She wasn't too old for love. She was simply waiting for someone brave enough to see her beyond the labels. And loving her, even in silence, taught me that the most powerful connections are built not on age or status, but on empathy, respect, and courage. If this story touched your heart, if it made you feel seen or reminded you of someone who deserves love despite the odds, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your engagement keeps stories like this alive, and reminds the world that love has no age limit.